Well, I was raised in church. My family, my entire family goes to the same church in Ulaga, Oklahoma. My grandpa started it. He's a pastor within, or he was a pastor within the Assemblies of God. And yeah, it was an amazing thing to be in a church with your entire family. I loved it so much. Like literally both sides of my family go to that church, my mom's side and my dad's side. And it's beautiful, except you kind of feel like you're under a microscope to an extent. Feeling like you have to be perfect all the time, and that you can't ever make a wrong move. And I knew that my church family loved me. I always knew that. And I appreciated that love so much. But I think that's just one way that the enemy can pervert something that's meant for good. You know, that I had a church family who loved me and cared for me and poured into me, but I was constantly worried about messing up and doing something wrong. I went to college. I went to Oklahoma Wesleyan University in Bartlesville, and just a small Christian college because I wanted that Christian atmosphere. And I got some really awesome opportunities there to lead worship for chapel. But I was still this super meek, super quiet, like almost hermit kind of person. Like I was totally fine if I went to chapel and like did my Jesus thing and rocked it out, and then I would go back to my room like silence, quiet, stillness, no one. In fact, I was just known as the chapel singer because no one actually knew me. They didn't know me at all. They just knew that I was the girl who sang in chapel. So yeah, that was an interesting part of my life where I was just like learning how to get out of that shell and trying to do community, but I like pushed it so hard. I pushed back against it so hard. I didn't want it. I just wanted to do my thing. But worship was something that was incredibly important to me, and I still to this day I love it so much. And that's really where the Lord grew me as a worship leader, because I was leading weekly, or sometimes weekly, sometimes bi-weekly, in front of like 1,000 of my peers in chapel, and I really had to I had to let go of my perfectionism and be okay with messing up. And Lord, did I mess up sometimes. I came from a musical family, so my brother plays umpteen instruments, and it's ridiculous, and he's so good. And he sings and he does all these things, and my dad sings and plays all these instruments. My mom sings and plays the piano, and they all toured with like Southern gospel like ensembles or whatever you would call them. And so that love for music runs deep for me. My grandpa, the one who started Ulaga Assembly, he played the violin. Now, it wasn't beautiful. he played the violin. A lot of people talked about how it didn't really sound that great, but you know, he played it and he tried. And he made violins. So after he passed, my grandma gave my dad all of his violins that he made. And I knew that he played. And so it always was kind of like underneath everything, underneath the surface, knowing that he did this and that there were violins up in my attic. And one day I was rummaging around in the attic in my childhood home. I was about probably 7 years old, and I found a violin, and I was like, I want to learn that. Like, I want to play that. So I told my parents, and they of course were like, yeah, let's do this. Like, we want you to pursue your dream. So I started taking violin lessons when I was 8, And I was in orchestras in Tulsa and took private lessons every week up until I was 18, and I loved it. It was something that that just ran deep within me. The love for music and the love for violin music and fiddle music. I loved doing orchestra music and violin music with other people. And then I was able to be a part of a traveling music ministry called Praise Song. I think it was my sophomore year of high school. You audition and you send in a tape of the ministry that you want to be a part of. So whether you're in the band or the chorus part of it, I auditioned for both. I auditioned to sing and I auditioned with my violin to be a part of the band. And I was I was still at that point very, I wanted to be just under the radar. I wanted to fly under the radar and just play my violin in the band and kind of do my own thing and be unseen, but still be a part and follow that dream, pursue that dream. And I was accepted, and I got to training, which was a week long, and we just work on our service, like what we perform in churches. And I had studied the music, I was ready, I was good to go, and I knew that I had auditioned. I mean, I'd remembered that I'd auditioned for vocals also, but I wanted to fly under the radar. So I was like, I'm not gonna audition for any solos, I want to play my violin, I'll be fine. And one of my fellow band members, the drummer, he was like, you need to audition for a solo. I can hear you sing and you need to audition. And I was like, I'm fine, thank you, but no, I'm okay. And he was like, you get in there and you audition, because you're good, and they're gonna pick you, and you need to do this. And I was like, okay, I'll do it, I guess. So I went and I auditioned, and once I got in there, I auditioned for this song that I didn't even think about singing on. I was like, that's out of my comfort zone, but sure, I'll do it. And I ended up getting the song that was out of my comfort zone, and the exact part of the song that was out of my comfort zone the most. And I was like, okay, Lord, I mean, you called me to this, I'll do it. And that was just a time when the Lord was like, this is what I'm calling you to. I didn't call you to be in your bubble. Like, I'm calling you to more. And people don't know about the more that I'm calling you to if you just fly under the radar. And I was like, all right, Lord, that's fine. But slowly I began to embrace that and know that, like, it's okay. It's okay for me to not fly under the radar, and to be me, and to pursue the callings that I have on my life. So I still continued on with violin, still continued on with vocals and worship and choir and all these things. And then I met my husband in college. We started doing worship together whenever I came down to visit him, and I loved that. I loved being able to do worship with the man that I loved. And then we moved down to, we lived in Ulaga when we first got married in northeastern Oklahoma, and then moved down to southeastern Oklahoma, or northeastern Texas. And boy, did I fight that hard. I fought that so hard. I did not want to move. Not one fiber of my being wanted to move. My entire family was at my church, and my family, they were my friends. I didn't know anything different. I had been friends with my friends for my entire life. And I was being ripped away from that, and that was hard. I fought it so hard. My husband to this day will tell the story about how he didn't know whether or not I was going to be home when he came home from work, because I was so unhappy and so angry. I was so angry at the Lord for taking me away from my family and my friends. But he totally had a plan, because it was not that much longer that we met our son. Then we met Judah. Adoption also was never on our radar. The Lord is obviously just like taking all of these expectations of mine and changing it all and showing me that he has a different plan. And I'm slowly learning that. Keyword slowly learning that. But we met Judah, and the first night after we met him, Dustin, I'll never forget, he said, "Do you think we could adopt him?" And I said, "No, like, we're not gonna go there. I'm not gonna let my heart go there. I cannot let my heart go there." Then the next night we went over and played with him and hung out with him. And then the next night we went over and played with him and hung out with him. And Judah slowly creeped into my heart. And then adoption was on our radar. We started the process to foster and adopt, or to get certified to foster and adopt. And that in and of itself is a whole other story and journey. A very bumpy one, very rocky one, but one where we saw the Lord's hand in so many ways. It was beautiful. Just the way the Lord orchestrated everything. We would see something awful happen, and then within 24 hours it would completely turn around, and things were looking good again. So it was amazing just to see the hand of the Lord on every step and know that he had a plan. So yeah, then in June of 2015, exactly a month before I had our youngest son, Lincoln, Judah became our foster child. And then we had a new baby, and oh my, threw everything off. We had to relearn everything, because at that point I had 2 babies. I went from having no kids to 2 kids, and a 2.5-year-old and a newborn. And I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what I'm doing. And I'm going crazy, and Lord, I'm gonna need your help. So that was an interesting journey. Then in December 2015, December 22nd, 2015, we finalized the adoption, and he was ours. We didn't have to worry anymore. We didn't have to wonder if things were gonna go bad and some family member's gonna want him, or if somehow he was gonna be taken away from us. He was ours. And it was so freeing to know that I'm his mom. Like, I'm his mom. And now on his birth certificate, it says that I'm his mom. It doesn't even say that I'm his adoptive mom. It doesn't say that this is biological mom and here is adoptive mom. It just says mom. It just says mother. It just lists Dustin as his father, which is so, I just love it. In fact, it's on my desk right now, and I just look at it and I'm like, oh, it's so beautiful. It's such a picture of how the Lord adopts us, and how it's immediate, and it's not, oh, you're my adopted child. It's, you're my child. Judah's my child, and I don't have to say he's my adopted child. In fact, I forget. I forget that he's adopted. I forget that he's biracial, and I forget that he's adopted. So when we get funny looks in the store, I'm like, why are you, what? Oh, you're kind of wondering how I made that. Yeah, just a white girl, biracial kid. Yeah, so I forget that he's adopted all the time because he's just my kid. He's just my kid. I forget that sometimes we have to tread lightly with him because he's adopted, because I don't see it. I don't see that he's adopted. I just see him as my child, that I fought really, really, really hard for. And he was totally worth the fight. So yeah, it's been kind of a journey in discovering that I don't have to work so hard. It's not about being perfect. That's something the Lord is dealing with me on lately. It's just perfection, my need for perfection, and just letting go. And it kind of stemmed from everything that I grew up with, and the pressure that I put on myself, knowing that I was somewhat under a microscope. Just knowing that I don't have to try. It's not about trying. It's just about just taking a step and just asking the Lord, what's my next step? And taking it. And say, okay, what's the next step? And then taking that one. And not having to know the perfect, okay, this is gonna be the end. Just trusting him along the way, because I'm his beloved. And it's my job to be loved by him. It's my job. And knowing that the Lord will never call me where he doesn't go. Oh, that's just been something that's resonated so deeply in me lately. Just knowing that I can do hard things. I can do hard things. And that I don't have to be perfect. That I can be messed up. I'm messed up. I mean, we're all messed up. And it's okay. Because he loves us just the same. And I just have to focus on being loved. Because that changes everything. It changes everything. Knowing that I don't have to try. I just have to be loved. My name is Andrea, and this is my Just Be story.